joining us, NHL insider from TSN, Saskatchewan boy, Darren Dreger. Dregs, thanks for making some, I gotta move, there we go. Thanks for making some time today. Can I lead you off with letting you know, because I know you come here for all your senior hockey updates as well. Langenburg will take on Redvers in the first round of A provincial playoffs. Though, if the winner of that plays either Moosomin or the Round Lake Bears that are being coached by Theron Fleury.
Yep. I saw that. I mean, you never look too far ahead, right? And nor did I ever think, with all due respect to the great level of hockey that it is, the fact that I subscribe to Live Barn and now a Home Team Network, and I'm planning my weekend around it already. I'm looking towards Friday. I'm looking at the Saturday game, the Warriors in action. So I'm not willing yet to put myself in a place of the provincial event. I'm not. They got to figure out what's going on with the remainder of their games in the league, and they've got league playoffs and all of that. But my understanding is that, Round Lake is a bit of a wagon, and Moosomin's pretty good. I mean, you get to that level of provincial hockey, and we shouldn't expect less.
What the play would be, Langenburg bring you in as a guest coach if they play Round Lake. Darren Dreger versus Theron Fleury.
I'd have to fight the McDonald clan, and I don't think that I would do that since Dwayne, who you guys may be familiar with way back in the day, his son Logan is the head coach, in fact, and they're well represented on that bench, so I'll just leave them alone. They're doing a good job.
I saw you on social media, too. I wanted to bring this up. My friend Clayton Croker had a nice little piece on the McNutt Bar, where that runs into your family. When we had you on the Monday Nooner, your grandparents owned it, and you have fond memories of that place.
No, in fact, it was my parents. I lived in that little hotel way back in the day. I mean, man, we're talking 50 plus years ago, right? 50 plus years ago. But I was born in Yorkton, Saskatchewan, and my parents literally moved from Yorkton to McNutt and bought the bar and operated the bar for a number of years. And then we got into the farming racket and moved out to a farm between McNutt and Langenburg, Saskatchewan. So anyway, as soon as I saw it, it was my brother-in-law forwarded me the tweet. And then the video that went along with it, and I was like, oh my God, that thing hasn't changed in 50 plus years. It hasn't. And the memories just came flooding back. Like, I mean, I'm not kidding when I tell you the stuff that I saw through a little pass-through window from the kitchen into the bar. People would be in jail. There was full-on criminal activity. That's what I witnessed on a weekend-by-weekend basis.
And almost every small-town bar in Sasky would have the same story. That's the beauty of it. Okay, let's talk some hockey here while we got you for a bit. I'm doing a lot of reading, listening to a lot of shows and all that. The Olympic break freeze coming up, and then how teams don't want to maybe take on contracts with this freeze. I start to think, as the casual fan or a fan, I'm like, the heavy hitters, the perennial powers, are they really going to care if they got to take on a little salary while a guy's sitting on a beach if they can get their guy?
No, not really. And I've had that theory thrown at me by some general managers. And the cap is calculated almost on an hourly basis. So it's not to say that it doesn't count. Of course it does. But who are the players we're talking about here? If you're talking about a 9, 10, 12 forward, all right, well, what's the rush in that? You might as well wait until after the Olympics. And then maybe the sellers start to soften a little bit in their ask because the window is closing. It's a 12-day stretch of days. But we're going to see some stuff happen here, obviously, between now and the Olympic roster freeze on February 4th. And, there's no bigger fish in the pond right now than Artemi Panarin of the New York Rangers. So there's going to be some stuff that gets done.
So you say the biggest fish is Panarin. I think it's the whole Toronto Maple Leafs roster. I really do. And I actually feel bad for Brad Treleving because this is not his circus, but he's stuck with these monkeys. And he's got to fix this.
In some respects, you're not wrong. And it hasn't come through a lack of effort. Like people think, okay, well, Mitch Marner walked out. They made the deal with Vegas. They knew it was inevitable. But Treleving hasn't found a way to replace. You're not going to replace Marner, but bring in a top 6 talent. Well, the players have to be available. And to your point, I mean, you have to have the assets that are going to attract that type of player. They just don't have that. They went aggressive at the trade deadline last year, as you guys recall. You look at the deal they made for Brandon Carlo. Brandon Carlo's a shell of the defenseman they thought they were getting from Boston. They gave up Fraser Minton in a first-round draft pick, and Fraser Minton right now is the number 2 center in Boston, right? So there's not a whole lot of assets there. In fact, I talked with Brad earlier today. They're 8 points out of the wild card spot, but they still feel like there's enough juice there that they can scrape and claw their way back into the conversation. So with that in mind, sure, he's gauging the level of interest in his unrestricted free agents, and that's Lawton, and that's McMahon, and it's Yarncrook, and it's Troy Stetcher. But you got to balance that with the conversations you're having with the agents and find out, okay, well, what is the expectation from McMahon? Is it $5 million a year? If it is, okay, see you later. We're going to move you. And probably the same with Scotty Lawton. So they're probably fooling themselves a little bit, to be fair. I haven't seen enough evidence in how this team has played this year to think that they are going to scrap their way back into the playoff mix. So inevitably, I think you're going to see significant change.
I've watched this team twice now in the last 2 weeks, just late at night, throwing some sprinkles down, trying to make some in-game bets of the San Jose Sharks. And I'm like, are they going to do anything, Dregs, there? Like, can you see the Sharks kind of making some moves where they stand this year now?
Well, we've got a segment we call Insider Trading on TSN, and it's myself, it is Pierre LeBrun, and it's Chris Johnson. We've got another segment tonight, and we'll give you the full update on what San Jose might be up to. I would include San Jose as a team that's in the chase for Artemi Panarin. I believe that. They've certainly got the cap space. I'm not presenting them as a front runner. I think you have to look at the Carolina Hurricanes. Carolina and that owner, Tom Dundon, they're always swinging for the fence every single year. I think Washington Capitals might be an outlier, a team of interest there. So I guess I'm trying to answer your question specific to San Jose, because they know what they've got in Macklin Celebrini right now, and Will Smith is another, and all the pieces that have made a playoff-worthy team in San Jose. So I think that Mike Grier is certainly interested in adding something of significance. But, you know, if we're talking specifically now about Artemi Panarin, he's got a no-move clause. And the money can be what it is by way of extension. And he would prefer an extension to be part of any trade before he okays the deal. But that's why I think San Jose is intriguing, because we know that the San Jose Sharks are going to have the cap space. It's a question of whether Artemi Panarin sees a fit there and wants to move to San Jose.
I think they should do an ESPN 30 for 30, or somebody should do something on Kelly McCrimmon at some point. You know him well. Anderson, everyone kind of knew, well, he's going to end up in, I talk to Eric Francis too every week. He's going to end up in Vegas. It's just going to happen. Yeah. What's going to happen? And then everyone's like, well, the no state tax, and it's such a great place to play. And all. I'm like, well, Kelly was doing this in Brandon with the WHL team. He was building it. Like Kelly McCrimmon, like when you talk to people that maybe don't know him, Dregs or whatever, like how do you describe just kind of a genius that he is and how he gets it done?
Well, he's an incredibly smart man in every sense. You know, obviously he's got hockey savvy. He has since, patrolling the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League way back in the day, And you look at some of the relationships that have been maintained, the people that work for the Vegas Golden Knights. You guys remember Bobby Lowe's. Yep. I mean, Bobby Lowe's is a principal piece of the brain trust of the Vegas Golden Knights. Again, they go all the way back to the SJHL and probably before that. And my time with those two characters is almost that long as well. But Kelly is a sharp man. He's just a smart dude. He is. And I would submit, and this will piss a lot of people off when I say it, he doesn't get outworked as a general manager in the National Hockey League. He doesn't. Everybody says they work hard. Of course they work hard. But he always seems to be a step ahead, and he always uses the advantages to his advantage. And those are the things that you've talked about, Vegas being a destination of choice, the tax formulas and all of that. But you know what matters more than any of it is you have a chance to win when you step on the ice with the Vegas Golden Knights and not win games, contend for a Stanley Cup. Yep. And that's like candy to any player in the NHL. So when Vegas calls, teams, player agents, players, of course, they listen. So part of that is Georgia McPhee and Kelly McCrimmon in a big way.
he doesn't have a miss, though. Like, you look at Kelly's list, but he really, in the NHL anyway, you can't say that he's traded for somebody that was a real bust and he had to move on. And
Adrian Foster, Brandon Wheat Kings the one year. I was working at Global TV. That's the only time I remember.
That was the Wheat Kings. He's got over that. Yeah, in Vegas, he doesn't have any big misses.
No, and look at the players that are playing elsewhere. I think of Jonathan Marchessault, who, Nashville just seemed to be a team that made sense for him as a free agent. And he did good things for the Vegas Golden Knights, but they were quick to reinvest. Right? And that's what you do. Every general manager would say the same thing. It doesn't matter how good you think your players are or your team is. As a GM, literally your job is to try and upgrade in every area so that you can do what the owners challenge you to do when they first broke in as an expansion team. And that's, I want to win a Stanley Cup. Well, that's what the owner says, right? Yeah. So when you've got the resources that are provided and you've got incredibly astute hockey management, and you've got excellent coaching, then all those pieces make a pretty good puzzle.
Yeah. Couple more for me, because I know you got to go here. Darren Dreger joining us, NHL insider. Buffalo. I don't even need to be a Buffalo Sabres fan. I'm just like, come on, get into the playoffs. It's like the Michael Jackson Thriller. They're coming out of the cemetery. Got to feel good for them. Where can you see it happening? Are they going to add some stuff, Dregs?
Well, yeah, although, just looking after your own might feel like an ad, and I'm thinking of Alex Tuch, right? He's a pending unrestricted free agent, and it's still a bit of a mystery aside from the obvious. Yarmo and company in Buffalo clearly don't like the numbers. We were told way back when that, it's probably around the Adrian Kempe target, so you're north of $10.5 million annually. The fact that Buffalo kind of kept stubbing their toe year after year was perplexing to a lot of us. You guys too, right? Especially the last couple of years. And, you'll never convince me that firing Kevin Adams is the reason why this team all of a sudden found lightning in a bottle. That doesn't compute. Doesn't make any sense. No. Their roster was good, but here's what makes sense to me. Their goaltending came online. If you look at Alex Lyon, ripped off 9-10 consecutive wins in net. So they've got depth in that position. And now they have trust in the goaltending. But just as importantly, and I think Josh Norris remains day to day, this kid just cannot stay healthy. But he did come back healthy for a stretch of games. Yeah. And that solidified their lines because they were strong up the middle of the ice. So if your goaltending is good, you're solid at center ice, and their defense is pretty good, then those are a lot of areas of coverage there. So I think that they're just getting what they deserve at this stage.
Biggest piece of curiosity for you going into the men's tournament at the Olympics?
Canadian goaltending. Yeah. That team is built with that in mind. You have to be able to defend. You have to be okay with winning a 1-goal hockey game on the Olympic stage more than any other. We're not going to see the craziness that we saw in the gold medal game, obviously, at the Four Nations. Who wouldn't want to see it again? But you're not going to see that on the Olympic stage. But you know who the rivals are, right? The Americans are loaded. They're going to be rock solid. Czechia is good. The Swedes are injury depleted right now, but they'll be super competitive. Finland, they play the same game no matter what the stage is internationally. So my biggest question mark would be, okay, number one, who's starting? Is it Logan Thompson or is it Jordan Binnington just merely because of the love affair that John Cooper has with him in recognition of a fairly decorated goaltending resume? But that would be my biggest concern going in.
I agree with you 100%. You couldn't have described it any better, but I do think it's Logan Thompson game one. I do.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough.
Logan Thompson is day-to-day with an upper body injury, by the way.
Yeah. And by the way, that's where those things get a little bit nerve-wracking if you're Team Canada management, because Braden Point, as an example, was hurt a while ago. So, he's inching closer to being okay. Somebody gets hurt even with a day-by-day scenario right now, it gets a little dicey because all of a sudden day by day turns into 10 days or 2 weeks. And you're right there. So,
okay, I asked a guy last night that's not near as smart as you this question. If Bouchard, or sorry, if somebody gets hurt, is Bouchard
on the blue
ad?
line?
Is Bouchard the ad, or who do you add?
I still like the Schaefer kid. I do. And, but you know what? I can be convinced because of just seeing him in Stanley Cup final and playoff hockey. Evan Bouchard is a big game player. He is. And looking at him in the second half of the regular season, and you know what, midway through the first half, he flipped the switch. You know, maybe he's a 60-game player and he's not an 82-game regular season player. I'm fine with that. So I don't know. It'd be a bit of a coin flip. Maybe you go to Bouchard just because of Stanley Cup experience.
Okay, and last one. It's we're just coming out of a minus 50, minus 40 kind of spiel. I don't know where you are, if you're in Manitoba or where you are, but
no.
We're coming out of one of those, prairie cold snaps for a week and all that. When you think cold Saskatchewan hockey rinks, which when you go back to your days as a kid, which rink was just the coldest?
Calder, Saskatchewan. Not even a fair fight. No, and no, there weren't benches there where the corner was. There was enough. It was a Quonset. There was enough room in that corner so that the players could stand in that corner on ice. I mean, our toes were frozen in the first 10 minutes of the hockey game. It was ridiculous. Coldest by far. Not even close.
Warm up at the McNutt bar.
Yeah.
Peering through the glass. Yeah.
I was too young for that. But yeah, I was doing a lot of watching.
Drags, thanks so much for taking time again. Awesome. And I know people love when you come on, so I appreciate it. And have a good Olympic break and watching hockey and all that. We'll catch up again.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for the senior hockey and the junior hockey updates. I like following along.
Right on.
Cheers, my friend.
There you go.